Welcome back now. World Suicide Prevention Day is an awareness day always observed on 10th September each and every year in order to provide worldwide commitment and action to prevent suicide with various activities around the world since 2003. The International Association for Suicide Prevention collaborates with the World Health Organization, WHO, and the World Federation for Mental Health to host World Suicide Prevention Day. Joining us with more information on this is the Director for Programs and Quality Assurance at the Ministry of Education, as well as a clinical psychologist by profession, Ayesha Wentworth. Good morning, ma'am, and thank you so much for making time to speak to us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Madam Wentworth, let's talk about what does World Suicide Prevention Day mean to you personally?
Well, I think that we have all of us somehow been touched by suicide and challenges with mental health. And even in my own family, I've had a close family member who has struggled with mental health and who has attempted suicide. So I think it's very important for us to take stock and really keep touch with those closest to us and our family members.
So if I'm picking up from you, it possibly means that your understanding when it comes to mental health has evolved over the number of years as a result of your personal interactions. And perhaps from your involvement, what are some of those misconceptions, about suicide that you have come across that you think need to change?
Mental health is really about every person realizing their abilities and really being able to cope with normal life stresses and contribute to the community. It's about emotional and psychological and social well-being, and that influences how we think and feel and behave. It's like mental health is on a spectrum from well-being to distress to crisis. And we never know where people are on that continuum. So it is about being supportive and being there for people at all times. Some of the misconceptions around suicide, someone can appear outwardly doing very well, but unless we check in with that person, we don't know what is their internal struggle. I think people sometimes think that, suicide is planned or it is, somebody that is weak. But, to be in a place of such darkness and desperation that you cannot see any other solution, it's a very difficult place to be in. And I think that we really, really need to change the narrative around, and that is the theme for this year. We need to really talk about mental health issues. We need to talk about the struggles that we're going through, because suicide often happens in an instant of being in a really, really dark place, and you cannot see a solution to the problem.
Now, from your experience as a clinical psychologist, what are some of the most effective ways in order to check in on someone that might be at risk?
I think we need to be observant of those around us. We need to ask people, are you okay? What's happening with you? They would, when people are going through difficult times, you would see behavioral changes. They're quieter than they usually would be, sometimes withdrawing from their colleagues or peers. Drop in the performance, attendance at work even. I think that we need to just be vigilant and really reach out to people. I think that in our communities we've become so isolated that it's we're not engaging with our neighbors, we're not talking to each other. It's become a very individualized life that we lead, and we need to start engaging with one another more.
Okay. Now let's talk about the training opportunities perhaps that need to take place in workplaces, taking place in schools. Are there enough training widely available right now on suicide prevention, or do we need to do more for schools, workplaces, and in our general spacing in general in Namibia?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your question, but just in general, I think that there's a lot that needs to be done around well-being. The ministry didn't plan anything specific, but we developed a beautiful pamphlet with the support of Advantage Advertising, who have, just give a small guiding document just to help schools, not only for learners but also for teachers as well, just on what can we do today, but not just today, every day, because the ministry has had its Safe School framework in place since 2018, which really talks around also guiding us on suicide prevention, mental health issues, and also some of the factors that lead to suicide and mental health challenges.
From your observation, have you observed perhaps anything that maybe prevents people from accessing, mental health care in general in Namibia? Are there barriers?
Well, I think that primarily we don't have enough mental health professionals in the regions. I think that you would find a lot of the psychologists, for example, but they are more in our main towns, where in other regions and remote areas and constituencies, there are not enough mental health professionals. I know with Ministry of Health, they have social workers who are there, which is great, but I think that is one of the challenges of access. But I also think, as I mentioned, the issues around stigma and the issues around the narrative around seeking help when it's a mental health issue, and that is what we need to change. Getting help is the right thing to do, and we need to speak openly about how we get help.
Let's talk about how we can create that environment where people feel free and safe in sharing. What are some of the ways that we perhaps need to improve, not only in schools perhaps, but also in workplaces, but also possibly when someone is thinking of seeking help from the Ministry of Health and Social Services? What do we need to do to make sure that the environments become safe for people to come pouring in and to be able to share?
Well, I think that we need to really make concerted efforts. I think that there needs to be, in our workplaces, we need to have like a mental health team or a wellness team even for that, a focal person who coordinates and organizes interactions around the different areas that, that people are struggling with. I think, financial literacy, for example, bring in some experts to talk to us about that. Anxiety, depression, coping skills, social-emotional life skills. I think that every organization, every school needs to have this health unit and well-being unit that is going to look at and that can create a referral pathway for our colleagues, because sometimes it's something we cannot deal with, but we have the pathway where we can refer them to Ministry of Health, Ministry of Gender, whatever the situation may be.
Now, finally, Madam Ayesha, let's talk about what activities that you have planned for today, since today is Suicide Prevention Day. Now, in terms of, perhaps before you answer this question, is to see that yesterday we saw in the local daily indicating that Namibia is at #1 in terms of suicide rates on the continent. Today we are also seeing that one of the daily papers, again, are expected to report on that suicide is a result of relationships and financial issues. What would be your message in line with those information that I just shared with you?
I think that I would just like to call on everybody to reach out to someone that you trust, someone that you can talk to. There is always a solution to the problem, and we need to be open to that. Don't sit alone in silence. Speak to your boss, speak to your colleague, speak to your friends. Sometimes just talking about it lightens the load and can help us, putting minds together can help us to come up with a solution to the problem.
Well, Madam Ayesha Wentworth, thank you so much for making time to speak to us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a great day.
Likewise.